Well, it's been a long week, but in the end, we won. All the videos YouTube removed have been restored. In this video, I'll tell you what ultimately happened and what I think would kind of make this whole process better moving forward. Stay tuned. So, what happened was pretty simple actually. Right before leaving to take my kids trick-or-treating, I noticed that both the videos that had been previously removed were back with no restrictions at all. After about an hour into our trick-or-treating endeavors, and right about the time the sugar high started kicking in for my youngest, I finally received the first message from YouTube since this whole ordeal began. It said, after re-review, our teams confirmed that your videos do not violate our harmful or dangerous content policy or other comment guidelines. We can confirm the initial action was not the result of automation, and we're using this as an opportunity to improve in the future. But the claim that the initial action was not the result of automation was a little peculiar. Does that mean the initial takedown or the appeal denial or both? Honestly, I'm not sure. In any case, it seems a little hard to believe, but I'm going to assume the best intentions because I don't really have any other choice to anyway. If YouTube says they didn't use AI, then I'm not going to argue with them. There wouldn't be much point in arguing anyway. But if they truly do want to use this as an opportunity to improve in the future, then I do have some suggestions from a creator standpoint. First off, and I mentioned this in my last video on the topic, I don't think that YouTube has a choice but to use a certain level of automation. I'm sure you guys have all heard this before, but on average, 500 hours of video are uploaded to YouTube every single minute. There's just no way they could have enough manpower to moderate all of that without some kind of automation. But there could still be improvements made to the system that they currently have. For one, they could use a little bit of logic when moderating content. For instance, a large established channel with no history of violating the rules is probably a lot less likely to violate those rules than a fairly new channel that has a couple of strikes on their record. So maybe they could kind of tweak their scrutiny level a little to give pages with a history of good behavior more of a benefit of the doubt. I mean, this entire process could still be done through AI in order to just filter out the bulk of possible issues, then flag issues that should be escalated. After that, a real person should look at the channel itself or the content in question. If it violates community standards, then whatever happens, happens. But, and I can't reiterate this enough, if you must punish a channel for a content violation, then for God's sakes, tell us what we did. Explain why our video applies to this specific community standard violation, and even include a timestamp to where the violation took place, if it's possible. Because ultimately, if you don't want channels to repeat the same mistakes, you have to tell them what the mistakes were in the first place. And then in regards to the appeals process, I know I've seen this before. I just can't remember where. But let the creator write a brief explanation in the appeal itself. It doesn't have to be a lot, maybe 200 words, allowing the creator to at least explain why his content doesn't violate the community standard that he's being accused of violating. Because here's the thing, not everyone that's going over the appeals is an expert in the content that they're judging the appeal on. Honestly, I can see why some people might think that bypassing the Windows 11 hardware requirements might be a topic in the category of piracy, even though it's clearly not. So allow the creator to explain his own content because ultimately he's the best expert in the content that he created. He may not mean what you think he means. But ultimately, the violation may simply be a matter of misunderstanding. A problem like this could easily be solved through the appeals process. But either way, these are just a few of my thoughts, and many of these points may be actions that YouTube already does, or may implement at some point. I honestly don't know. But what I do know is that creators shouldn't be terrified of whether or not their content violates community standards. Simply tweaking the current system that YouTube has to prioritize correction rather than punishment would make YouTube a much better platform for creators. But either way, I'm happy that we were able to resolve the entire ordeal positively, and we can move on knowing that these topics are not off limits on YouTube. So I will, in the future, make more videos bypassing the Microsoft account requirements, as well as installing Windows 11 on unsupported hardware. But while I have you here, I want to thank all the media organizations that wrote articles on this topic. Contrary to popular belief, I had nothing to do with the media coverage. I simply made videos and tagged YouTube on Twitter. The media coverage was completely organic. They contacted me, not the other way around. But I would like to specifically thank Ars Technica, Tom's Hardware, The Register, as well as all the other publications that made up the 16 or so articles that were written on this topic. I'd also like to thank Linus Tech Tips for mentioning this on the LAN show. Even though he mentioned it after the issue was resolved, it was still cool watching Linus try to pronounce cyber CPU. It's honestly not that hard of a word, man. Either way, there's many other people that helped as well. Likely, most notably, you guys, my subscribers. Ultimately, you guys shared my videos and commented on social media about how much of an injustice this was. That led to big social media accounts also picking up the story, which led to the story being blown up on Reddit, which I believe ultimately is what led to the media picking it up. And finally, believe it or not, I'd like to thank YouTube for finally contacting me and getting this whole situation worked out. I love being a YouTuber and I love this platform and I want to stay in good standing with YouTube. Now, what do you guys say we get back to our normal videos and leave all this insanity behind us? Sound good? All right. As always, you guys have a great day.